He walked in undercover to feel the soul of his restaurant and walked out wondering if it even had one left. They say if you truly wish to understand a place, observe how people treat someone they believe can offer them nothing in return. That thought repeated in Darius Ellington's mind like an old hymn as he stepped out of his car and looked up at the green and yellow neon sign flickering above the front door. Ellie's Grill. It had been over a year since he had entered that doorway as a regular customer. As the owner, he had always been occupied, buried in supplier negotiations, meetings with partners, or putting out fires behind the scenes. But something had been troubling him lately. Reviews trickling in anonymously, whispered complaints from people he trusted, quiet murmurings that hinted at decay. The kind of comments that did not align with the spirit of his diner. His instincts, the ones that had never failed him when he built this place from scratch, told him something deeper was wrong. So he chose the path few in his position would dare take. He dressed down, old jeans with a tear just above the knee, a faded black hoodie with a zipper halfway up, and a Braves cap pulled low enough to shadow his face. He knew no one would recognize him, not even the staff whose paychecks bore his signature every other Friday. He entered the diner at 12:46 p.m., the exact center of the lunch rush. The smells greeted him first: slow-cooked brisket, sweet cornbread, the sharp tang of vinegar and smoke from the house-made barbecue sauce. The scent enveloped him, momentarily softening the ache inside his chest. His grandmother Ellie had always said, "Good food is just a warm hug with flavor." This place was supposed to feel like that, like her. But as Darius stepped into the line and scanned the dining area, he felt a chill that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. No one looked up, no one smiled, no one greeted him. Behind the counter stood Kendall, tall and lanky with short twists and a perpetually disinterested expression. He was tapping away on his phone beneath the register. Next to him was Marina, her jaw working rhythmically as she smacked her chewing gum, louder than the country music drifting from the overhead speakers. "Next," she said flatly, without ever glancing up. Darius stepped forward. "May I have the pulled pork sandwich and a side of baked beans, please?" Still avoiding eye contact, she tapped the order into the screen. "That it?" "Yes, thank you." He paid in cash. She gave no acknowledgement, just gestured vaguely toward the waiting area. As he stepped aside, he heard something that stopped him cold. "You see him?" Kendall muttered, slipping his phone into his back pocket with a smirk. "Another one of those walk-ins. Probably off Peachtree." Marina laughed under her breath. "Bet he won't even tip. They never do. Ever since they started hiring people from that shelter program or whatever, this place has gone downhill." Darius blinked. The words hit like cold rain. "They say the owner's some rich guy. Black, too," she continued. "But he never shows up. Probably sitting up in Buckhead somewhere, sipping on kale juice while we're in here doing everything." Kendall chuckled. "Bet he don't even know half the people working here." Still, they did not recognize him. Not a flicker of familiarity passed over their faces. He should have been furious. And he was. But beneath that rage, there was something colder, profound disappointment. This place was supposed to mean something. Ellie's Grill was not just a business. It was a legacy, a second chance, a warm meal and a warm place for people life had tried to forget. And now the very people entrusted with keeping its spirit alive were mocking its heartbeat. He looked around. An elderly man in a tailored suit sat by the window, frowning into his coffee. A young mother jostled a restless toddler, eyes flicking toward the kitchen, waiting for a server who had clearly forgotten her. There was no laughter, no comfort, no sense of belonging. Ellie would not have recognized this place. He stepped back to the counter. "Actually, cancel that sandwich," he said, his voice flat. Kendall barely looked up. "You sure?" "Quite sure," Darius replied. I have lost my appetite. He walked out. The door swung shut behind him, but the air outside was no lighter. He slumped into the driver's seat, resting his forehead against the steering wheel, hands motionless on his lap. What ached the most was not that they did not recognize him. It was that they did not care. But he was not finished. He leaned back in the seat, hoodie scrunched behind his neck, and stared through the windshield as people entered and exited. A teenager in a school uniform, a construction worker brushing dust from his sleeves, a couple speaking in low, tense tones as they slid into a booth. This was not just any diner. This was his grandmother's name, glowing above the door like a promise. And somehow that promise had become meaningless to the people who worked beneath it. Minutes passed, 10, then 15. Eventually, Darius climbed out of the car and walked down the block to a gas station. He bought a cheap coffee and returned, circling behind the restaurant. There were no security cameras there, just an old steel door and a kitchen window left cracked open. Inside, someone laughed. A deep, warm belly laugh he would recognize anywhere. Reggie, the grill master. Darius had hired him after a recommendation from a halfway house. The man had turned his life around and mentored others in the kitchen. But then Kendall's voice rang out again. Telling you, he ain't coming back. If he does, it'll be all fancy, like he invented gumbo or something. Marina chimed in. Mr. Ghost Boss, that's what I call him. Got his picture on the wall but never shows up. What kind of boss is that? Reggie's voice cut in, not angry but low and deliberate. Y'all know he started this place with $200 and a smoker in his driveway, right? So? Marina shot back. This place means something to some of us, Reggie said. Watch your mouth. Silence followed. A pause so long it felt heavy. Kendall scoffed. You act like he died or something. I'm just saying, if he doesn't care, why should we? Reggie's voice came again, firmer. Keep talking like that, and you'll find out real quick why people do not stay in places like this. Respect goes both ways. Darius took a step back, emotions churning. Pride for Reggie, shame that Marina and Kendall had slipped through unnoticed. When had he stopped showing up? When had being hands-off turned into being absent? His grandmother's voice echoed in his memory, stirring pots of greens in her tiny Georgia kitchen. You can't plant a garden and forget to water it, baby. Don't matter how good the seeds are. He had planted something beautiful, but he had stopped tending it. That night he sent one message. Team meeting tomorrow, 9 a.m., mandatory. No explanation, no emojis, just enough to make them nervous. Then he booked a room at a hotel in Marietta, scribbled notes into a battered leather journal, and braced himself. Tomorrow was not about revenge, not about firing anyone, yet. It was about something greater, restoring the soul of the place. And to do that, he would have to stand in front of them. Not as a stranger in a hoodie, but as the man who built the place they had forgotten how to love. He probably recognized the weight of it all. Darius stepped further into the center of the room, his voice even but resolute. I'm not here to yell, he began calmly, but I am here to fix this. He let his eyes settle briefly on Reggie. Some of you still carry the soul of this place in your chest, and I see that. I honor that more than you know. Then his gaze swept across the rest of the staff, unflinching. As for the rest of you, you've been clocking in, collecting paychecks, and treating this place like it's beneath you. That ends now. A hushed stillness hung in the air, until Tiana, a server in her mid-30s, cautiously raised her hand. Mr. Ellington, she said gently, I didn't know you were watching like that, but thank you for showing up. He gave her a nod, the kind that carried both regret and resolve. I should have done it sooner, he admitted. I let my distance become confusion. I let silence invite stories that were never true. He turned now to face the entire room, his tone shifting into something steadier. I'm laying it all on the table. New rules, new expectations, and new opportunities. He reached into his back pocket and retrieved a folded sheet of paper. Starting next week, we're implementing real monthly staff check-ins, not rushed hallway chats, real conversations. I'll be in here twice a week. You'll see my face. And we're bringing back customer feedback, not Yelp reviews, real words from the people sitting in those booths. Someone muttered, "About time." But it didn't sound cynical. It sounded like hope. Darius raised his hand slightly for silence. "But listen closely," he said, his voice now edged with steel. "If you don't want to be here, don't clock in. Don't waste my time. And don't insult what this place stands for by pretending this is just a job. This is not just a job. Not here. If you can't bring respect into this building, respect for the people, the food, the purpose, you're free to walk away." No one moved, not yet. Then he turned toward Kendall and Marina. They straightened as if summoned by name but remained silent. "You two," he said, "come with me." He led them toward the back, holding the door open without so much as a glance behind him. After a moment's hesitation, they followed. They stepped into a narrow hallway near the pantry. No customers, no watching eyes, just them and Darius. He closed the door behind them softly. "I'm giving you this space," he said, quieter now, "to speak freely. Tell me what this place means to you, or what it doesn't." Kendall exhaled, gaze drifting to the side. Marina crossed her arms, silent. Darius waited. Finally, Kendall muttered, "I mean, I just work here. It's not personal. It's a paycheck." Darius's eyes didn't blink. "Then you've been cashing the wrong kind of check," he said, "because this place was never just about food." Marina looked up at him. "Okay, but you weren't around," she said. "It felt like none of it mattered." "That's fair," Darius acknowledged. "That one's on me. I stepped away when I shouldn't have." He leaned against the wall, arms folded. "But tell me, how does that justify speaking about your coworkers like they're trash? Or mocking the very man who signs your paychecks? You think that builds trust?" Marina dropped her gaze. "No," she said softly. Kendall said nothing. Darius pushed forward. "I'm not firing either of you. Not today. Because maybe what this place needs isn't fewer people. It's better ones. Ones who learn, ones who grow." He nodded toward the kitchen door. "You've got one chance to prove you belong. It starts now. Don't say it with words. Show me through how you treat people. And if you can't do that, walk away." Neither moved. Darius opened the door and stepped through, leaving them to decide. Back in the main dining room, the atmosphere had shifted. It wasn't light, but it was alert, watchful, ready. Darius clapped his hands once. "All right, we open in 30. Let's find out if Ellie's still in this room." Even as the team began moving, he knew. This was only the beginning. The real test hadn't arrived yet. It would come at noon, and it came exactly on time. By 12:05 p.m., the line was already curling toward the front door. Familiar faces mixed with new ones. Kids giggled, asking for extra fries. A man in overalls sipped sweet tea while reading a newspaper folded 4 ways. The diner breathed like it used to, but Darius didn't retreat to an office or corner booth. He stayed by the coffee station with a notepad in hand, watching quietly. No yelling, no micromanaging, just eyes open, taking mental notes. Charisse worked the grill like it was an extension of her arms. Reggie moved through the kitchen like a seasoned conductor leading a jazz band. Tiana wore her smile like armor, every table visited receiving warmth and wit. At the front counter, however, things were less smooth. Marina was trying. That much was clear. She stood straighter today, smiled more, said thank you like she meant it. But it felt unnatural, like someone walking in shoes they hadn't broken in yet. Kendall kept his head down, took orders quickly, avoided eye contact, and disappeared into the back whenever possible. At 12:46 p.m., the exact same time as the day before, a young man stepped inside. He wore a faded hoodie and carried nervous energy like it clung to his skin. Couldn't be more than 19, one hand in his pocket, scanning exits like a trapped animal. Marina saw him, looked away. Kendall stepped back from the counter. Then Reggie emerged from the kitchen, drying his hands on a towel. He locked eyes with the young man and gave a quiet, grounding nod. "You got this." The kid hesitated, then stepped forward. Uh, can I get the catfish combo? Greens instead of fries?" His voice barely floated across the counter. Marina nodded, tapped the screen. "That it?" He nodded. She rang it up, glanced toward Kendall. He didn't look back, just folded his arms and turned away. "Order up in 10, Marina mumbled. "Thanks," the kid whispered, clutching the receipt like it might vanish. Darius had seen enough. When the line cleared, he walked over and looked Marina straight in the eye. "You know who that was?" She blinked. "No. Should I?" "Name's Isaiah Penn. Just started the shelter program last week. Came here on recommendation." Marina's lips parted slightly in realization. "He's not dangerous. He's not broken. He's just trying to start over, like a lot of people who've worked here." Her face shifted, not dramatically but noticeably. A flicker of guilt, maybe, of something deeper. "He looked like he wanted to disappear," she said. "That's how most people feel when the world convinces them they're small," Darius replied. She looked down. "I'm sorry. I mean that." "I know," he said, "but don't say it to me. Say it with how you treat the next 10 people." A few minutes later, Isaiah received his food. Reggie handed it to him personally, with a smile and a fist bump. That was the spark. From that point on, the shift moved smoother than it had in weeks, like the engine had finally found the oil it had been thirsting for. By closing time, the tip jar was heavy, the kitchen spotless. Customers lingered a little longer after their meals. And Darius? He sat in his usual booth by the window, quietly watching, just a little less burdened.